Love after 60. When you know 5 harsh truths about men, you'll love with wisdom, not wounds.
What if I told you there are some brutally honest things you must know about men, especially before you open your heart again? And what if I also told you, if you don't learn them now, life will teach them to you the hard way, through silence, disappointment, and the kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with shouting, but with years of quiet fading. There comes a point, sometimes after a divorce, sometimes in the stillness of a regular morning, when a woman realizes the signs were always there. He wasn't really listening. You were always the one carrying the emotional weight. And that ache in your chest, it wasn't love deepening. It was you slowly disappearing. Hi, I'm so glad you're here with me on Wise Life After 60. In this video, I'm going to share 5 harsh truths about men, truths most women only discover after the fog has lifted. They're not meant to harden you. They're here to free you. Because not all men want love. Not all affection means care. And not every man you gave your heart to truly deserved it. We weren't warned. We were taught to endure, to wait, to be sweet. And by the time we start asking the real questions, it feels late. But it isn't. Not if we begin now. When you start to love with wisdom, not wounds, everything changes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more helpful tips like this. And if you've ever whispered, "Why didn't someone tell me this sooner?" this moment is yours. Let's begin.
Truth number 1. Some men seek comfort, not commitment. I remember sitting with a friend of mine. She was in her early 60s, just like me. We were sipping tea on her porch, and she said something I'll never forget. "He calls every night. We laugh. He shares everything with me. But when I asked if we were a couple, he said, 'Why label it?'" That silence afterward told me everything. She wasn't being loved. She was being leaned on. That's the thing about dating after 60. The lines between companionship and commitment can blur so easily, especially for women over 60 who are still soft-hearted but wiser now. And it's not always because men are malicious. Sometimes they're simply seeking what I call emotional shelter, a warm place to land without the intention of staying. You cook dinner, you listen to their worries, you share your bed, and for a while it feels like something real is building. But when you need clarity about plans, about emotional depth, about the we, they vanish into vague words and non-answers. It's a quiet heartbreak, isn't it? Not the kind that knocks the wind out of you, but the kind that slowly, week by week, makes you feel invisible. You become the comforter, not the partner. Senior love advice often skips over this. They tell us to take it slow or have fun, but they rarely talk about the men who will enjoy everything about you except your needs. The ones who adore your energy, your nurturing, your calm, but refuse to meet you in mutual commitment. That's not love. That's refuge. There's a difference between a man who chooses you and one who simply enjoys you. The first builds something with you. The second just rests inside the home you've built until it no longer suits him. This truth can be hard to accept, especially if you've gone months or even years thinking, "But we have such a connection." And I get it. I've felt that connection too. But connection without clarity will leave you emotionally exhausted. Here's something I had to remind myself, and maybe it will land for you too. You are not a halfway house for uncertain hearts. You are not here to heal what he won't face in himself. You are not the pause between his past and his next chapter. If you're looking for real senior dating advice, let it be this. Observe not just how a man makes you feel, but how he shows up when you express your needs. Does he grow tense, withdraw, deflect? Or does he hold space, respond, and reassure? Because comfort is easy. Commitment takes courage. And love after 60? It deserves courage. I've learned that a man who truly sees you, not just your warmth, but your soul, won't keep you in a gray area. He'll make it clear he's home, not visiting. But even when a man stays, even when he says the right things, there's something else we must pay attention to. Because not all kindness means presence, and not all presence means he's truly available.
Truth number 2. A man's kindness does not always mean he's emotionally available. He pulls out your chair. He remembers your favorite tea. He texts good morning and checks in when it rains. And so, it's easy to believe his heart must be open too. But I've learned through quiet tears and quiet wisdom that some men are kind and still deeply unavailable. When you're a woman in her 60s, especially one who has known loss, you start to value gentleness like water in a dry season. So when a man shows up with calm energy, soft laughter, and warm eyes, you may breathe out and think, finally, a man who gets it. But not every gentleman is an emotionally ready man. Some men are kind out of habit, not intention. Some are polite, but disconnected. They'll listen, but not hear. They'll hold your hand, but never ask what your soul truly needs. You can share a bed with someone who never once asks what keeps you up at night. It reminds me of something Seneca once said. A gift blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. In love, kindness can sometimes feel like that gift, one that clouds what you need to see. You tell yourself, he's so thoughtful, he can't be the problem. But kindness without emotional depth is just a comfortable illusion. It's easy to stay too long with a man like that because he's not doing anything wrong. He's not cruel. He's not absent. He's just unavailable in all the ways you wish he weren't. You find yourself craving something deeper, but unsure whether you're asking for too much. You silence your needs because he's nice, but inside you still feel alone. Senior love advice often teaches us to look for the good in people. And yes, goodness matters, but goodness isn't the same as connection, and it certainly isn't the same as intimacy. If you are dating after 60, I invite you to ask yourself this: does this man see me, or is he just good at soothing me? Because a man who is truly emotionally available will not only show up with gestures, he'll show up with attention. He'll engage with your inner world. He'll ask not just about your day, but your dreams, your disappointments, your hopes. He won't be scared of your history. He'll be curious about it. He'll want to know you. And if he never does, no matter how gentle he is, that's still a kind of loneliness. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed with someone longer than you should have just because they were nice? Not loving, not growing, just nice. If you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to share that experience in the comments below. You never know who it might help feel less alone. But sometimes the ache isn't from being ignored, it's from being seen, admired, and still not fully accepted. Because some men are drawn to your strength, but quietly shrink away from the weight of what that really means.
Truth number 3. Some men are drawn to your strength, but fear your standards. I once knew a woman named Teresa. She had that calm power about her, the kind you earn after raising children, surviving heartbreak, and rebuilding a life. She wasn't flashy, but she was deeply grounded. She didn't chase, she didn't explain, and when she walked into a room, she didn't need to demand attention. It just found her. She met a man who was instantly captivated. He said he respected her confidence, her honesty, her independence. He told her she was unlike any woman he had ever known. For a while, it felt like a deep match, two grown adults meeting as equals. But the moment she started to express her standards, emotional consistency, communication, and shared goals, things began to shift. He grew distant, defensive. He said things like, "You're too much," or "Why can't we just enjoy what we have?" It wasn't her strength he feared. It was the responsibility that came with it. This is something I see often in dating after 60, especially with high-value women who have rebuilt themselves. A man will be magnetized by your wholeness until he realizes he cannot control or coast through the relationship, that he must show up, grow up, and hold space beside a woman who will not shrink to fit his comfort. And that is the hard truth. Some men fall in love with your light, but resent how brightly it shines when it reveals their shadows. So you are left wondering, should I soften my edges to keep him? But softening too much isn't love, it's erosion. Senior dating tips rarely talk about this. They will tell you to stay open, but they don't always remind you to stay sovereign. Your strength is not a threat. Your standards are not an inconvenience. They are the result of every heartbreak you've survived and every boundary you've earned the right to protect. You can be loving and firm. You can be soft and discerning. You can be open to love and unwilling to babysit a man's ego. The right man won't feel smaller in your presence. He will rise in it, not out of fear, but out of respect. And if he cannot do that, you'll walk on without bitterness, because you've walked through far harder things before. There's a quieter truth that often slips past our awareness. It lives in the small moments, in what we tolerate without noticing, and in the parts of ourselves we slowly hand over just to keep the peace.
Truth number 4. A man can love what you give him more than who you are. Does he love you or simply enjoying the way you make him feel? It's a question worth sitting with, especially in the quiet seasons of our lives when we finally have space to reflect. Because there's a quieter truth that often slips past our awareness. It lives in the small moments, in what we tolerate without noticing, and in the parts of ourselves we slowly hand over just to keep the peace. In dating after 60, we've often been taught to love through service, to nurture, to make others comfortable. And after years or decades of that role, it can be hard to recognize when we're being loved for our giving, but not for our being. Some men will deeply appreciate what you offer, your steadiness, your warmth, your home, your emotional labor, but never truly see you. They'll thank you for the meals, but not ask about your dreams. They'll love the comfort you bring, but never touch the depths of your spirit. And because they are polite, gentle, even affectionate, you may not notice what's missing at first. But love without recognition is not love. It is convenient. There's an old saying, "The tree is generous with its fruit, even to the one who never looks up to admire it." How many times have you poured yourself out for someone who never lifted their eyes to meet your soul? In senior dating advice, we often hear, "Know your worth." But knowing it is not the same as defending it. There's a certain grief in realizing that someone loves what you do, but not who you are. And that grief is heavier when you've spent your life trying to earn care by being needed. A man who truly loves you will not just accept what you give, he will be drawn to your essence. He will be curious about your opinions, your stories, and your stillness. He will want to understand the woman behind the kindness. Because here's the truth. You are not just a caretaker. You are not a habit. You are not his comfort zone. You are a whole woman. A living, breathing soul with your own rhythms, thoughts, and sacred weight. And if a man cannot hold that, if he turns away from it, then he is not in love with you. He is in love with what you provide. There's a Persian proverb that says, "Do not sit long with someone who sees only your shadow." Because the longer you sit there, the more you begin to forget your own face. Think back to a time when you were constantly giving, showing up, and doing your best, yet somehow you still felt unseen. What did that silence teach you about love? If you feel comfortable, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. The hardest truth is often the one we whisper only to ourselves. Not about who he is, but about what we've given up piece by piece just to keep the connection alive.
Truth number 5. If he doesn't grow with you, he will slowly pull you backward. Growth is quiet. So is resistance. Most relationships don't end in chaos. They erode slowly through mismatched evolution. In dating after 60, we're told to value peace. But peace without growth often becomes a soft trap. It looks like routine, feels like familiarity, but underneath, it can quietly ask you to shrink just to maintain the calm. I remember a woman I met in a grief circle years ago. Her name was Carol. She had lost her husband in her 60s and later found companionship with a gentle man she met at church. He was stable, consistent, and never raised his voice. But as the years passed, her world seemed to get smaller. She stopped taking the painting classes she used to love. She skipped her monthly women's retreat because he didn't like being left alone overnight. Even her wardrobe changed, less bold, more neutral. Not because he told her to, but because his discomfort around change made her start anticipating it. "He never once hurt me," she said, "but looking back, I was fading." That is what happens when one partner refuses to grow. The relationship becomes a space where only one person gets to expand, and the other must stay manageable. For seniors over 60, this can feel painfully familiar. We've been trained to hold steady while others figure themselves out. But if you're still growing, still evolving, still shedding old skins, and he's anchored in the past,
the relationship will slowly pull you in reverse. It won't be intentional. It might even look like love, but it's not aligned. Senior wisdom means knowing the difference between being held and being held back. Love should never ask you to abandon your growth. It should make space for it. A man who belongs beside you in this chapter won't fear your evolution. He'll be curious about it. He'll ask what lights you up, even if it's unfamiliar to him. He won't pull away from your becoming. He'll adjust his step to keep walking with you. And if he doesn't, then that is the answer. Because love after 60 isn't about staying the same. It's about honoring the quiet expansion still happening inside you and protecting it, even when it means walking forward alone.
Maybe love after 60 isn't about finding something brand new. Maybe it's about remembering something you always knew, but were too kind, too loyal, too hopeful to fully face. That not every man is ready. That some will reach for you without ever planning to meet you where you are. And that you can love someone without choosing to stay. Women over 60 carry decades of wisdom in their bodies, not just knowledge, but knowing, the kind that doesn't shout, it hums. And when we start listening to that inner voice, everything shifts. We stop chasing clarity from men who offer confusion. We stop calling crumbs nourishment. We stop waiting for someone else to name our value, because we already know. You know what love is supposed to feel like. Peaceful, but also curious, responsive, and alive. Love should witness you, not use you. It should walk with you, not weigh you down. And if it asks you to trade yourself for closeness, it is not love. It is fear wearing charm. So, if you've found yourself in any of these truths, or quietly nodding through them, I hope you'll carry this with you. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply waking up. And when you love again, because you will, you'll do it not from need, but from wholeness, from wisdom, not wounds. If this video helped you feel seen or less alone, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to Wise Life After 60 and share this with another woman who might need it. We are stronger when we speak truth together. Until next time, take care of your spirit and love wisely.